You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. San Francisco 49ers, Brandon Aiyuk trade request. Is it a surprise? Is it a surprise the 49ers cannot afford either one of the receivers that they currently have? I mean, it's a struggle point as the market of the receivers have went up. And folks, most of all, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, how much value do they have on that position? And what will it affect with Brandon Aiyuk's trade request? These are all questions I'm going to answer for you. And, it's not surprising to me. I saw this one coming out there a long time ago. I kind of looked at it and I said, well, when you get to Brandon Aiyuk and you're trying to understand what does Brandon Aiyuk want to do, what's on his mind, what does he feel that he deserves? You got a football player, and Brandon Aiyuk's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. Okay, and the San Francisco 49ers looks like they don't want to honor the trade request. And really, it's just causing a little dissension within the organization. Obviously, we're just minutes away from training camp opening up. And the 49ers got a few options, but what are they going to do? I mean, it just falls down to how they're going to look at it, how Lynch and Shanahan is going to look at it. And you got to be willing to say, that the 49ers are going to do the right thing. There's no doubt about it. But I'll also tell you this. The 49ers got to look at it both ways. Okay, obviously, you got Deebo Samuel. And as I walk you through this with Deebo Samuel, let me just tell you this, folks. Deebo Samuel is an outstanding football player. And the 49ers got them both. Now, here, how are they gonna manage that? Because the wide receiver room, just all of a sudden, Brandon Aiyuk's going to make about $14 million. And the wide receivers rooms just kind of blew up, okay? It's not at the same price tag. And when you look at what do you got, here's what I want to really break down. And here's where we got to kind of look at it equally. And we got to look and say to ourselves, okay, are the San Francisco 49ers, the trade request from Brandon Aiyuk, is it a surprise? To me, it's not. I could clearly see this coming. Brandon Aiyuk is coming up to the end of the rookie contract. 49ers have done this once, and and when it comes to the production, folks, you'll start out coming in, Brandon Aiyuk, okay, 2020, 60 receptions. Comes back to 21, 76. Comes back to 22, 78, 75. Total of 269. If you look at the rushing carries, total of 13 rushing carries, okay? So there's no doubt about it. The market, if you look at Tyreek Hill, you look at Jefferson, you look at the receivers and the amount of money teams are willing to pay for receivers, the production is a lot higher than Brandon Aiyuk. Now, here's the difference between Brandon Aiyuk and everybody else. Brandon Aiyuk is a great football player. However, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan's great shot by the San Francisco Gate coming out there. Now, when you get to Kyle Shanahan, he looks at things completely different. Okay, you're gonna look at something completely different here, and I'll tell you why. With Kyle Shanahan, you're gonna look at it from the standpoint he's looking at, what do I got to do to get this team over the hump? What do I got to do to get the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl? And when he looks at that, and you look at his eyes, and he's trying to explain, guys, look, we've got a structured environment. Every player has a role. Yes, these players are going to come in, but we got to change into the guard. Now, with Brandon Aiyuk's trade request, it's not a surprise. And here's why it's not a surprise to me. You got Ricky Pearsall. Okay, when you went in there and you take a player in the first round, okay, that's a clear signal that we're going to make you an offer. You may not accept the offer that we're going to make to you. However, when you look at Pearsall, here's the deal. They brought him in as the number 1 draft pick. Okay, usually, folks, what that means in the NFL, when they bring you in as the number 1 draft pick, they got one thing and one thing in mind, and that means they're going to replace you. Now, with Brandon Aiyuk, he's such a great football player. Does he want to leave the 49ers? No. Okay, I mean, his heart and soul bleeds for the 49ers. However, you got to look at it collectively from what the 49ers do, how they do it, how they win games, and what are they trying to do? Because every bit of the 49ers this year, okay, and the draft picks that they made, and I'm talking Ricky Pearsall, Mustafa, they got some guys that are going to be on this roster, And it's going to be a little shocking when you look at it. Now, let's go back to the numbers because we want to make clear that what's going on here. And when you get to the clear numbers of what's happening when the 49ers play football, okay, obviously you start out in Pittsburgh, boom, you got McCaffrey, you got Purdy winning the game, you got McCaffrey shining, you got Aiyuk shining, okay? You move down, it's giving you a clear view. You got Deebo Samuel, how he moves in there and makes a play. Now, here's the part that I'm talking about that concern me. Okay, Deebo Samuel gets hurt. 49ers do not win football games when Deebo Samuel gets hurt. That's a problem, okay? Because when you get right back to it, it's going to take you right on back here. Kyle Shanahan, I'm telling you, when it comes down to where you're going to slot a player and how he's going to look at it and how he wins football games, Kyle Shanahan wins football games with Deebo Samuel. Okay, that's no confusion there. Now, Brandon Aiyuk plays a big part in winning those football games, folks. And so when you look at this and you look at it from a transition standpoint, 49ers one game away from winning a Super Bowl. One game away, and he could have looked at it a couple ways, a couple plays away from winning that Super Bowl. It didn't happen. It's been a heartfelt offseason. It's been an emotional offseason. But here's what I do know, and I'm going to bring it to you early, and when I break it down, I'm going to tell you this. Making the 53-man roster, okay, in the National Football League, making the 53-man roster in the National Football League for Kyle Shanahan. That's going to be a hard roster to make. And, folks, I'll bring it to you also. It'll be coming out this week. The San Francisco 49ers wide receiver room. I'll tell you what, you know who's licking chops? That man right there, Mr. Brock Purdy. He's licking chops. The San Francisco 49ers wide receiver room is one of the most crowded wide receiver rooms, okay, in the National Football League. And I'll tell you, there's one player that's hanging around. He keeps hanging around, and that's Danny Gray, okay? And you got Ricky Pearsall coming in, okay? You got Conley coming in, okay? You got a lot of 49er rookies that are going to make this 53, and these are not rookies. Normally, you kind of swing and miss when you do the draft. You'll swing and miss, folks. And what do I mean by swing and miss when you do the draft? You'll go in there, you may hit on 2 players, man, you miss on 8. You come back, you get 1 player the next year, you miss on the other 8 you pick up as well. Okay, so you're like 3 for 16, there's no doubt. But when you hit, and you hit on a Deebo Samuel, you hit on a Brandon Aiyuk, okay, and you hit on those players, and you get them in there, and they develop under your system, they are valuable. Now, can the market outprice them? Yes, and that's what's happening. That's what you got. You got Brock Purdy sitting here, and man, oh man, is that a firecracker, okay? He's ready to unleash. He's ready to go. He's got Pearsall. He's got Danny Gray laying in the loops. You got Jennings going in there. You got Deebo Samuel. You got Christian McCaffrey. Folks, Kittle, there's only one football. There's one football. And by the time you get to it, now here's the difference I want to show you. And when it comes down to it, and folks, this really just makes the cap for me, and it just tells me what's going on. So we'll look at Deebo. You get up in here and you look at these guys and you say, man, what do they do? Okay, because you got Brandon Aiyuk's career. I want to bring both of them to you. Okay, when Brandon Aiyuk's topping out at 75 balls, and then he's got a career rushing at 13. Then when I bring you over here to Deebo, okay, and you start getting into Deebo, now things get a little bit more kind of dicey here because you got Deebo coming in, 57 receptions, drops to 33. Has injuries, you come in there, you come back, 77, 56, 60. Okay, however, you flip on the other side of the coin, Deebo, 221, ran the ball 59 times. Okay, came back in there, came back 222, 42 times, came back last year, 37, okay? And he's got a balloon average. He's got TDs rushing that ball. Okay, that's a huge advantage when it comes to, as you know, Frank Sinatra. Now, I always tell you with Frank Sinatra, he's going to do it his way. That's Kyle Shanahan. And I'm going to tell you, folks, there's going to be a hard time for anyone to convince me that Kyle Shanahan doesn't understand the production of Deebo Samuel. Okay, so I go back to you. Is Brandon Aiyuk's trade request a surprise or no surprise? Obviously. Did he draft somebody in the first round? Let's be honest. Yes, he did. He went right along with it. He said, this is what we're going to do. Okay. Do the 49ers got 2 contracts that they need to sign? They can't sign them both. They got to pick one. Okay. And obviously, Deebo Samuel. Okay. They're coming right behind the other. If they pick one, they can't have the other. Okay. These things are going down. Then you got Brock Purdy. He's got to get in there and he's got to do what he's got to do. And it comes back to me where the 49ers, I know without Deebo, you see that right there, folks, that you look at October 15th, 23rd, and 29th, we lost ball games, no Deebo Samuel. Okay, that's the story. And this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're powered up by fanatics. We just want to bring it to you. We're getting back in the saddle. We've had so much fun over there with the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, but man, oh man. This is the San Francisco 49ers, and let me just tell you this. One of the things, the history of the 49ers, I mean, we had to let some great players go. Like I said, the hardest one I ever remember in our history, and I've been a 49er fan born and raised out of San Francisco, is the fact that we had to let go of Ricky Waters. And man, oh man, Ricky Waters, man, went to Philadelphia, finished up a career. There's some tough ones you got to let go. There's some tough ones you try to keep too long. 49ers are always going to be structured. They've got it dialed in. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. The only challenge is these guys are just good football players. And when you draft good football players, things change. And we got a lot of guys going to be on one-year contracts this year. There are going to be some tough times. There's going to be some rookies. I'll tell you, this draft class may be the best of Kyle Shanahan's tenure in San Francisco. John Lynch. This may be their best draft class that they specifically went out and got players to do a certain job, okay? And we still got Bell, who's a wide receiver that's a good football player, okay? And man, oh man, I don't know how everyone else's mood is doing, but man, we need old Jake Moody. We need you to be in the right mood this year because that kicker in the right mood can make our lives a whole lot easier. The San Francisco 49ers, we got one goal and one goal only. That's the return to the Super Bowl. I am a 49er fan, and I'll tell you that. But objectively, the NFL is still NFL. It's the highest shield and the highest brand. And when you look at it, Seattle's going to get better. The Rams are never going to sleep. Okay, so we've got competition coming always. And we got to figure out how to win the football games. The Dallas Cowboys improving. The Philadelphia Eagles are improving. Everywhere you look, every team is improving in the National Football League. And now I think this may be the year. This is the year that Brock Purdy will receive the keys to the car. That Kyle Shanahan's going to turn him loose. And he's going to let Brock Purdy have a great year. There's going to be some bootlegging. There's a lot of things we can see. And it's going to be an exciting year, folks. And I'll tell you, that training camp, July 25th, we're just on the countdown. And it's getting better and better. But back to the top of it hand, it's no surprise to me. And I don't think it's a surprise to anybody else out there that follows the 49ers, that Brandon Aiyuk, you got 3 options. Okay, you can stick around. We'd love to have you. Understanding it may not be the dollar amount, but you are a great receiver, and San Francisco is a winning organization. Or you can go ahead and stand and on your trade request, which is no surprise to anyone else. And the other, you can go in there as Money Mike sees it, and you can kind of hold out in training camp as long as you see fit. Now, understanding the San Francisco 49ers, and when you get to old Kyle Shanahan, he's going to move forward. He's always going to just work with what he has and do what he has and what he needs to see. And that's where he's always been. That's Frank Sinatra. And San Francisco is going to get back to the dance. We only got one way, and that's one game. And, we've got the coordinators. We got everything lined up. There's everything that's in there for us to go ahead and do what we got to do. And that's the way we're going to call it. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast, and we'll always tell you all things are possible to those who believe. We thank you for joining us, and we're going to keep moving forward. So we'll see you soon.